Hey, Anita.
Hey, Karen.
How's it going?
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. A lot of turkey. All good
A
stuff.
lot of turkey.
Yeah.
Pumpkin pie.
Yep. And we had a lot of things to be grateful for.
A lot of things to be grateful for.
Yes, we do.
We have Joe Biden as president right now, so let's keep it that way.
100%. So we have a lot to talk about on this edition of TruBlu Politics. Are you ready to do this?
I'm ready.
All right.
Blue wave, we rise to save the day. Only me, only you can let our hearts sail away on a blue wave.
So, we touched on this a little bit the last time, the Moms for Liberty, quote unquote, and, how they had some pretty significant losses, which was more or less a rejection of what they think is the best thing for America. And
I think people are really finally just tired of the whole book banning, the, Hitler references, just the whole don't say gay or whatever, the anti-gay, anti-LGBTQ. Parents are just tired of it. They want to rewrite history. They're doing it still here. But It's good to see parents standing up for their kids' education.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the big losses they were talking about, one of my favorite new opinion writers, Sarah Jones, and she talks specifically about Virginia, Bucks County, and
that's in Pennsylvania.
Oh, was that in Pennsylvania?
That's Bucks County. It's a suburb, yes, of Philadelphia.
Okay,
and it's generally pretty conservative.
Yeah.
And it's a good barometer of, like the suburban women. Because it does tend, it leans Republican, it leans conservative.
Right. Yeah. So
but the Moms for Liberty got wiped out there.
Yeah. And so there was this one part in this article that was really good and basically talking about how across the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, these parents are just completely rejecting the nonsense. They just want safe places for their kids to be able to go to school.
Yeah. And here I'm going to, I want to mention something that happened in Texas just recently. It was a bipartisan effort to reject school vouchers, the school voucher program.
Yeah.
And that is a big deal because that's gutting the public school system is what they want to do. And it was rejected.
Right.
I mean, it was Greg Abbott's plan, and it was thoroughly rejected in a bipartisan way because they heard from their constituents who didn't want this.
Yeah, no, and there's this one part here. It said parents overwhelmingly perceived this movement as a direct threat to their kids' education.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and
when you start banning Rosa Parks, or Roberto Clemente, or The Diary of Anne Frank. I mean, I know that's a graphic novel, but still, it's ridiculous.
Right.
And parents just, the Moms for Liberty doesn't represent us.
No, definitely not. Yeah. So, I mean, we do have some, positive things to take away, going towards the end of the year and moving into the new year and the primary season coming up, and just kind of, all of the indicators are just showing that we have a lot of issues that we're dealing with that, I think Republicans maybe overshot the mark on, thinking that it was going to be more. Yeah.
They're so extreme. And now their leader, the speaker, is this Mike Johnson, MAGA Mike, who represents all of that extremism.
Yeah.
I mean, he has got a podcast that him and his wife, Kelly Johnson, and they're discussing things about birth control and abortion and about LGBTQ. He talks a lot about gay people. He thinks a lot about gay people.
Yeah. It kind of like an unusual amount. Yeah.
So weird.
It's as though there's like something he's trying to avoid somehow.
Yeah. He really is anti-gay. But anyway, so this podcast is so extreme. They even bring up Halloween and how it's this, parents are allowing their kids to embrace the dark side, and he there was a some show on a network with Danny DeVito where he
Mm-hmm.
plays the devil. Oh, he was so upset about that. It's not where we're at. Where we're at.
No. Yeah, I
It
mean,
doesn't
and
represent us.
on its face, it's just completely nonsensical. But then when you look at, the fact that this guy is in line for the presidency, that here, this is one of their top guys, right?
Well, he
And
wants a national ban.
mm-hmm,
He wants to overturn Obergefell
mm-hmm,
for gay marriage.
yeah,
He wants to overturn Griswold, which
mm-hmm,
protects contraception. He voted against protecting contraception for women
yep,
when they had that up. As a matter of fact, most Republicans did.
mm-hmm,
This is he's in line with a lot of Republicans, with the majority of the Republican Party right now.
right,
The Republican Party is radical. They
right,
are a bunch of extremists.
right,
They're not fiscal conservatives or
mm-hmm,
whatever. They really just don't believe in democracy anymore.
no.
They want a theocracy or
Yeah, it's like a
authoritarian theocracy.
Christo-fascist
Right,
theocracy,
exactly. It's
basically.
a
And so,
Christian nationalism.
yeah. And so one of the things, this is one of the tenets, right? The enforcement of a Christian sexual morality and a strict gender hierarchy of men over women have not been
Yeah.
incidental or minor themes of Johnson's career. They have been its primary goal, one he pursued doggedly through his pre-congressional life. As an attorney, he worked against gay marriage and to uphold Louisiana's criminal ban on gay sex,
Yeah.
Yep. And he wrote briefs that described homosexuality as, quote unquote, inherently unnatural and a dangerous lifestyle, which he compared to pedophilia and bestiality. So, I mean, yeah. So, anyway, it's just like it's on and on. And, so we're going
Not to
to,
mention just the creep factor. I mean, come on.
yeah,
He adopted a 15-year-old kid when he was 25.
right. Well, yeah. I
That's
mean,
really weird.
no,
And
yeah,
that him and his son review each other's porn
yeah. Yeah.
habits.
Oh yeah, no, I mean there's so many things that just point and the fact that this is exactly who the Republican Party, is right now.
I don't think they want this guy representing them, but they didn't vet him.
No,
They were desperate. I mean, this is how they got Denny Hastert, and
right. And we
we all
know
know
what
what happened
happened.
with Denny Hastert.
Yeah, we do. And very close to home here, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so, Anita, like with every single one of our episodes, we do have links that we're going to post to our
Mm-hmm.
social media and to Patreon for those people that want to jump over to Patreon. So we're going to, just so everybody knows, you can actually access all of these things that we're talking about. There are links
Yeah.
to different articles that we're actually citing. I had watched the Chris Hayes podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, all I can think about is, the fact that this is who we have as a speaker. And, there was this article in Media Matters about Steve Bannon, in the war room and what they have planned for 2025, and that these
That's
are some of the same things that were happening in the lead up to us
no
getting
what they
into the
want to
war.
do. What they want to do. It doesn't matter if it's Trump or whatever Republican.
Mm-hmm.
These are what the plans are, and it's through the Heritage Foundation
Yep.
has come up with this 2020. What is it called? 2025 agenda.
Yeah.
2025.
It's
Something spooky like
project.
that.
Yeah, it's Project
Project
2025.
2025.
Yep.
And it's basically where they consolidate power in the executive branch.
Right. And so one of the plans that they have is that as soon as Trump is installed, right, that they're going to invoke the Insurrection Act.
Right. And, all these things, all these rights. I mean, we already know with abortion, but there's going to be a national ban on abortion. If we elect a Republican, we're going to have a national ban on abortion. That's just the way it is. I mean, right now, the next president is probably going to appoint more Supreme Court justices, too.
Right.
I don't know how we're ever going to get out of this unless we elect a Democrat, unless
Right.
we re-elect Joe Biden.
Right. So, they had Jeffrey Clark.
Jeffrey Clark,
right.
yeah.
He was in studio with Bannon. In the Bannon interview from July, Clark also rejected the conventional wisdom, in addition to, invoking the Insurrection Act right away. He said in the Bannon interview from July, Clark also rejected the conventional wisdom that the Department of Justice is or should be independent from the political pressure from the White House. And Clark's telling the DOJ shouldn't be walled off, as it has been by most presidents following Richard Nixon's targeting of his enemies during the Watergate scandal of the early 1970s. You know what jumped out at me with that, though, Anita? You know how they're always accusing Biden of like orchestrating and dictating to
it's so
Jack?
ridiculous because
Isn't it
it doesn't even make
crazy?
sense. They're just saying it.
Yeah.
They don't really, they know that's not true.
Yeah.
They are saying it because they want to make it, first of all, they want to justify what they're going to do. And then they also want to, try to make this about Joe Biden. It's not about Donald Trump being a criminal.
Right.
It's about Joe Biden just trying to weaponize the justice system to go after his political opponent, which is ridiculous. Donald Trump asked Bill Barr to arrest Joe Biden before in the 2020 election.
Yeah.
2 weeks before the election.
Right.
I mean, this guy, this is what they do. They project everything. They know better. They're just, maybe some of the people like we hear interviewed all the time who are just totally delusional. The people that follow around Donald Trump everywhere he goes and go to all his rallies, they're pretty delusional. I don't know if they don't really know anything except for what Donald Trump tells them. But these were the Republicans, like, especially people like Ted Cruz or Josh Hawley. Those are educated guys. They know better. Joe Biden isn't prosecuting him in New York.
No.
I mean, it's happening in New York. It's happening in Georgia. It's happening in Florida. It's going to maybe happening in New Jersey. How is Joe Biden doing that?
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And so that kind of, for me, and I'm listening to you say all this, and it really, it goes right to that whole thing where Trump was always saying, like, don't believe, what you see, don't believe what you read, just, listen to me, believe me,
That is
that they're coming after you. And it is, and when you listen to Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow's special that they
Jim
did.
Jones, material.
I mean, it's all of it. And so basically Rachel talks about, how that is the autocratic, that is the fascist playbook, right? Where they tell you, don't believe the trusted sources anymore, okay? You
can't
need
believe
to
the trusted sources.
You can't, right?
The trusted sources tell you what's really going on, and they can't have that.
Right. Well, right, exactly. So, basically what she was saying was like, don't believe the journalism, don't believe science, don't believe any of this,
You can't even believe what you see.
No, you can't believe what you see. But you know what? Trust your feelings and trust your gut. And when I tell you what your gut should tell you, what your gut is feeling, so it's very much telling them exactly like, I'm going to save you. I'm the way for you to, and those are the people. Yeah, that's what Rachel said.
Like Rachel said.
Yeah.
Those people want that.
Yes. Yeah.
They want an authoritarian. They're what are called authoritarian followers.
Right. No, that's what that was the whole point of what she was saying. And it ties right directly back to what, when Trump was doing what he was doing in the very beginning. I mean, everything. It's the lying press, Lügenpresse. You can't trust any of the resources that you have trusted. You can't trust
but
the
they
scientists.
have to do that, Karen. They have to do that.
Oh no, I know.
The press calls out the corruption and the crimes. If you tell them you can't believe that, the New York Times or the Washington Post or mainstream media.
Well, you have to do your own research, Anita. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's he's playing on this.
Research. Make sure you go to that Chinese cult rag. What is it called? I forget. That's one of their resources.
What, TikTok?
QAnon.
Oh, QAnon, yeah. No, I mean, but that's
Facebook.
Yeah, but that's so that, bottom line is this is what we're up against. Okay, this is who the Republican Party is. This is who they have as their front runner, and make no doubt about it. He's got people like Steve Bannon. He's got people like Mike Flynn. He's got
people smarter than him. Remember, Steve Bannon has the plans to deconstruct the what does he call it? Deconstruct break down the institutions.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Donald Trump right now, they're using AI to hire like 50,000 loyalists. They
Right.
want to get rid of all of the bureaucracy in the federal government and replace them with loyalists. And they're going to check out. They're going to go through all their, social media to make sure they haven't said anything bad about Donald Trump. I mean, it's a really scary thing. The thing that keeps presidents from going off, or is because we've always had we have people in place in these departments that are not partisans. And maybe there are Republicans in some Democrat administrations. These are people, they're civil servants, and they stay. They're there to do the job,
Right.
not to serve loyally for a man, for a president.
Right.
And that's important, but they don't want that. This is what authoritarians
Oh,
do.
yeah, no. Well, right. Exactly.
I mean, there is nothing. This is just like they have made it obvious. They are telling us what they're going to do.
Right. Oh, no, without a doubt. And so, yeah,
So-
this is it. The lights are flashing red. The alarms are going off. And this is what people really, need to be aware of, that this is the risk. We have a situation where Donald Trump is telling us exactly what he wants to do, what he will do, should he be. So, look, we are in a democracy. Everybody, I hear people saying like, well, if people want to run, they should be able to run. But this is the thing. We have to recognize what is
The
at
stakes
play
right now.
here, the stakes right now. In other circumstances, where there might be some people that want to come in and run as a third party candidate or whatever, we're not at that point right now.
I don't see the point.
Especially when we know what happened in 2016. We've already seen what happened in 2016.
Well, we know what happened in 2016. We know what happened in 2000.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, we know what happened in what was it, 80?
Right. Yeah, John Anderson.
He ran,
Yeah.
Of course, he didn't really take away that many, but still.
No, but but we saw what happened. Bottom line, we have, 2016 we can look at where Jill Stein was able to peel off just enough votes, right? And it was so weird.
Yeah.
Very, very, very same margins, just enough votes to peel away the electoral votes from Hillary Clinton. Well,
Look.
So how does that look in 2024 when we have fascism, when we have people who are telling us, they're not even pretending that they want to be a normal president. He's not even talking like he wants to be, just another, guy running for president. He's telling us he wants to have this be a fascist government where he
wants to
has
get rid
all of the
democracy. It's
power.
not working for him. And Republicans,
Right.
Democracy isn't working for Republicans.
No.
Because they used to be able to sell us trickle down.
Right.
And when people started realizing that trickle down wasn't working, supply side economics, laissez-faire economics wasn't working for them, they were still waiting for it to trickle down.
Yep.
They rejected it.
Yeah.
And they really don't have anything else.
No.
Deregulation. Nobody really cares about that. I mean, Democratic policies are way more popular. Republican policies just aren't popular. What do they have to offer? What they have to offer is hate.
Right. Yeah. And why you can go back 40 years and not name one thing that the Republicans have done that help anybody,
No.
I mean, they don't help anybody except for their big donors and themselves.
Well, yeah, they give big fat tax cuts to international, corporations, transnational corporations, and billionaires.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all they do.
Right.
That's what they're there for.
Right. Well,
And to cut regulations so that things we use are not as, and our workplace isn't as safe.
Exactly. Well, and Anita, of course, you know this. Jonathan Karl's new book came out, right? And
yes, I love that quote. Go ahead and
okay. So let's see. It revealed that in his book, Tired of Winning, someone who was previously not come out publicly against Trump dropped a bomb on the former president. And this is what he said. So he
this was somebody who worked closely with him for years in the White House.
Exactly.
Yep. I wonder who that was. I'm thinking Reince Priebus, but
Ooh,
who knows?
Reince.
That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe.
Well, he was chief of staff. It's somebody that was right there.
Yeah.
In the room where it happened.
In the room where it happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So he lacks any shred of human decency, humility, or caring, the former White House official told Carl. He is morally bankrupt, breathtakingly dishonest, lethally incompetent, and stunningly ignorant of virtually anything related to governing, history, geography, human events, or world affairs. He is a traitor and a malignancy in the nation and represents a clear and present danger to our democracy and the rule of law.
That's exactly who he is. That encapsulates Donald Trump exactly. And from somebody who really knew him, who worked there with him
Yep.
closely. The people that seem to be warning us the most
Yeah,
are the people that worked for Donald Trump.
exactly.
They
Exactly.
saw what he did. He's not fit for office.
No,
I can't believe we're even doing this again.
I know.
Because he's such a ridiculous person. He's so unfit.
Right. It speaks to the Republican Party.
It speaks for the base of the
Yeah,
Republican
and the
Party.
base,
They
you're
don't
right.
really.
Yep.
They are, like I said, they're authoritarian followers, and Donald Trump tells them only I can fix it. Of course, what did he fix? Nothing.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
he made a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
And he created more problems, and then he would pretend to fix them.
Yeah. So Carl then explained in his interview that the person was in the West Wing and worked alongside Trump for more than a year at a high level.
Brian Priebus.
Yep. Yes. Right. The key title is official, indicating it wasn't a staffer or aide.
See, it all fits him.
Yeah, it does. It sure does.
I know.
Yeah. We have to get
And remember, he humiliated Reince Priebus. They just left him standing there.
Yeah.
The plane took off, and they wouldn't let him out. He got out of the car, and the plane had took off without him.
Yeah, wasn't his pants around his ankles too?
Could have been.
Maybe I was thinking of something else. I don't know.
That happened a lot. I want to say something else real quick, though, about Donald Trump. Because a lot of people are saying Joe Biden, he's got us into 2 wars, which is not true. We're not in any war, first of all.
Right.
We're supporting, Ukraine against their fight against Russia, who invaded them. And we're still sending money to Israel. We've done this since 1948. Okay, nothing's changed. Joe Biden is doing the same exact thing that FDR did when we supported Britain when they were fighting Nazi Germany.
Right.
So and the stakes are kind of the same. But I also want to talk about the problem with the type of person that Donald Trump is this kind of this arrogance, and he runs around. We've seen him like at the UN or the G20 or something like that, where he just pushes people aside. I mean, that is what gets America into trouble and into wars. That kind of attitude, just pushing everybody around, pushing people around. That's why we invaded Iraq, we invaded Afghanistan. We're like, for no reason, because we could.
Absolutely.
And so I just want to make that point, because I think that's one of the things that's coming up a lot is that people are feeling nervous because the world is in turmoil, but Joe Biden does have the experience that comes with age. I mean, how long has he been? Since 1972, he's been working in Washington as a senator, vice president, and then president. So, I mean, if anybody knows foreign policy,
right,
there's nobody that knows foreign policy better than Joe Biden.
Right. Well, no, and we know that Joe Biden is surrounding himself. He himself has loads of experience, and he's also surrounding himself with the most qualified people. Yeah, that actually have served and are experts in the roles. Right.
They're very smart.
Yep. Exactly.
I mean, we don't want to go back to having
like Rudy
Rick
Giuliani.
Perry.
How about like Rudy Giuliani? Who went to Ukraine and was trying to dig up dirt on Joe Biden and Hunter.
Yeah.
And
what
about?
Source?
Yeah. Wait.
What was his source, Karen? What happened?
Yeah. What was
Who's Rudy Giuliani's source?
What was it? The Ukrainian lawmaker with ties to Giuliani who was arrested on treason charges?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was arrested because he was passing on disinformation to people like Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah. Exactly.
So he was a pro-Russian Ukrainian, and the Ukrainians arrested him because, and he's the guy who was sending the disinformation about Hunter Biden. That's where all that stuff comes from.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's how, and yet there's, James Comer is going to, that's a whole new episode, a whole new podcast, actually.
Yeah, right.
James Comer.
No.
And I don't want to give it any kind of legitimacy right now, but it's just such a joke.
This, along with all future episodes of TruBlu Politics, are sponsored by our wonderful TruBlu crew of listeners and our supporters on Patreon. As a small startup podcast, our Patreon members help us pay the bills to keep the ship sailing smoothly and also allow us to keep investing in equipment upgrades for even better quality content in the future.
Yeah, everybody who signs up on Patreon, there's a lot of perks that come along with it. We have things like getting your name in the credits of the episode, or even being shouted out during the actual episode. The bottom line is that Patreon supporters really do keep everything running smoothly here for the podcast. All the costs that are involved with the creation of this podcast are entirely funded by our supporters and, out of pocket as well. So we're a small podcast right now.
We're poor. We're so poor. If all of those things that Jimmy just mentioned interest you at all, please go visit us in the Patreon app or at patreon.com/TruBlu Politics Podcast. That is patreon.com/TruBlu Politics Podcast. And as always, thank you so very much for all your love and support. We'll kind of circle around, but, so speaking of, Hunter Biden, so there's one thing, and this is kind of like the little things that we want to touch on, the hard break segment of our podcast.
Yeah,
so basically, Hunter Biden has officially filed a motion to subpoena Donald Trump, Bill Barr, Richard Donahue, and Jeffrey Rosen. Barr, Donahue, and Rosen are former Trump Department of Justice officials. And I don't know about you, Anita, but I say, good on you.
Yeah, good on you, but he's never going to show up.
No, but you know what? To me, it's like, do it.
Well, I don't know. Is it for a deposition?
I believe.
Yeah, I think that is. Yeah, he's going to have to show up. Yeah, he's going to have to. That's a smart move. That's a smart move. Think about it.
No, it is.
Sorry, my dog.
Listen, and I think, whatever, you just do it all. Do it all.
I'm glad to see Hunter Biden fighting back like that.
Yep.
Because it's what they've done to his life. I mean, just...
No, it's despicable.
So disgusting.
It's absolutely disgusting. And then you have the people on the other side, like Trump's kids. Oh, leave the children alone. And it's like,
I know.
Fuck that.
And all the foreign money that was pouring into the Trumps, even when he was in the White House.
Right.
And you guys are worried about Joe Biden. And first of all, Joe Biden's son, making money, which is not illegal, by the way.
No.
You can make money in other countries.
Yes.
That's not illegal. He didn't work in the White House.
Yes, you can. So,
he was a private citizen.
Yeah, so all of a sudden they don't believe in capitalism and the free market and people can do whatever, what they want to do.
No, they don't even believe that.
No, they don't believe any of it.
They don't believe any of that.
Exactly.
They don't believe anything. They really have no principles.
Yeah, they're full of shit. Ex-officer Derek Chauvin, convicted in George Floyd's killing, was stabbed in prison, AP source says. So apparently he was in a high security prison in Minnesota, and then they transferred him to a medium security prison in Arizona, thinking that somehow he would be safer there. So, I just wanted to kind of mention that as like, this is somewhat breaking news, but we don't. So.
I mean, I don't want him to be stabbed. I think that's horrible, but...
Yeah. I mean, look, people should be safe in prison. You're serving your sentence and you should be safe in prison. But I guarantee you, Derek Chauvin didn't give it one fucking thought. To care less about anybody who is, gone through the legal process and then, had, was abused. I mean, he's a disgusting person. So
he's a murderer.
He's a murderer.
Yeah.
Anyway. So moving on, we're at that point. What are the topics that we should be talking to our friends and relatives about? And one of the things that came up was, and that I am very grateful for, is the fact that President Biden has helped in the process in between Hamas and Israel to have
he got
a pause,
for
a ceasefire. Right.
Yeah. And they're releasing hostages. I don't know if any were released today, but 13 were released yesterday.
Yeah, I believe there were some released today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that means, see, for every day, every day that they release hostages, they get the pause is extended. So as long as this, they're releasing hostages, they're going to continue the ceasefire, which
Right.
helps get humanitarian aid, which is much needed. And because Hamas is using a lot of the stuff that
Right.
any kind of commodities they have is being used by Hamas to attack Israel.
Right. And I mean, and I think that, what we need to remember too, and it didn't get a lot of play because there was so much else going on. But, when I was kind of looking at some of these articles surrounding the ceasefire, an article came up from May 17th, 2021. And it was Biden tells Netanyahu U.S. supports ceasefire as Israel-Hamas conflict escalates. And so in that particular skirmish between Israel and Hamas, it was Hamas launched rockets into Israel. And at that time, President Biden did not say anything like about, Israel's right to defend itself. He basically said we need peace, that we need to have a have a ceasefire. This time around, so people need to understand when they call President Biden bloodthirsty. Okay, this is the problem. He is not bloodthirsty, as evidenced by his actions in 2021. Right.
Civilian deaths as much as possible.
Absolutely. Given the fact.
The only way he can do that.
Yep.
The only way he can do that, Karen.
Yes.
Is by having leverage with Netanyahu. He embraced him.
Yes.
So that he would have some legitimacy in or credibility when he approached Netanyahu or tried to, keep him from going too far.
Right.
Because Netanyahu, Joe Biden doesn't like Netanyahu. But he knows that he has to, have some influence on him right now.
Right.
But this is not our war.
No. And I think what it is and what people need to understand is that because President Biden is so adept and understands diplomacy and having to massage situations, okay, my whole point is this. He clearly does not want conflict over there. He clearly is not bloodthirsty, as evidenced by the fact that 2 years ago he called for a ceasefire. Okay,
Afghanistan.
exactly. He got us right.
Not a warmonger.
No, not at all. He got us out of Afghanistan. The situation this time around was Hamas, who is the recognized government of Gaza. It launched a terror attack, came across the border, and slaughtered innocent Israeli citizens. So there has to be a response. And President Biden has, as evidenced by his talks with Netanyahu, as evidenced by his talks with other leaders in the surrounding Arab nations, he has tried to quell the rhetoric and he has tried to negotiate through what we are seeing right now today. Thank you, Joe Biden.
Yeah. Anybody that, you've seen this, Genocide Joe, doesn't know what they're talking about. He is doing exactly it. He is handling it exactly right. Because Israel had to do something, right?
Right.
I mean, could they have just, and as a matter of fact, Hamas has promised to do October 7th again and again.
The fact that they're there and they're, negotiating and they're releasing hostages, okay, we have to, as it comes, we have to move through it. So, praying, hoping, sending love and light that this continues and that we're moving in the right direction and towards peace, because we need to have peace in the, between these two countries, or between these two regions. It is.
It needs a two-state solution.
Yep.
And that's not going to happen as long as Netanyahu's there and as long as Hamas is there.
That's right. Absolutely.
Both of those have to go.
Absolutely. And so hopefully, we are going to do the right thing in 2025 and we will move forward. And
Netanyahu's not going to last.
No.
He's going to be gone as soon as they can get rid of him.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely going to be gone.
Yeah.
The next thing was the UAW. I thought it's huge news. So Volkswagen follows
Toyota,
Honda. Volkswagen follows other non-union automakers and hike wages 11% for U.S. factory workers. So now, because of all of the good work that Biden did with the UAW and showing support for them, and the UAW did the work.
Sean Fain, you got to give him props.
Absolutely.
It was amazing. He got a 25% pay increase.
Absolutely.
Fully funded pensions. all that stuff that was taken away from them in 2008 with the, bailout.
Yeah. Yeah. So it
So,
was, so Volkswagen Group said on Wednesday that they were going to hike salaries.
yep.
Let's see.
Toyota,
Japanese automakers,
Honda.
Honda,
Hmm.
Toyota, Nissan. They're
Yep.
also,
That's
and,
what unions do. They raise wages for all of us, even if you don't work in a union plant.
yep,
Even non-union workers make more
yep.
because of unions.
Yeah, and Hyundai Motor Company did.
Yep.
Here's this is interesting. The Elon Musk led company, Tesla,
Yeah,
which enjoys
Tesla.
an operating profit advantage over other automakers, has not announced any salary hikes in the U.S.
Yeah, they talked about Tesla. Yeah, Tesla's going to be but they're hurting. Tesla's hurting,
Yeah,
and
well,
pretty soon they're not going to be able to get qualified employees because there's so many problems with Tesla.
right.
That's why he's in Texas now.
Yeah, and Tesla's tanking. So so I have a little poem for Elon Musk. You ready for it?
Okay, yes, please. I want to hear this.
Ha 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 fucker.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Was that
That was
beautiful?
profound.
Yeah, well, there you go. You're welcome.
Would you write that down for me?
I'm going to send it to you.
Sure. Okay.
So, all right. So, listen. So some other good news. I think we have time for this. So we've got. So this is Reuters. Yeah, and the headline is kind of, I don't know how we feel about it, but Biden's economic scorecard touts fragile advantage. But here they list it. Okay, so we have number one. Anita, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
American Rescue Plan Act.
Yep.
We've got Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act,
Yep.
CHIPS Act,
And
Inflation.
that's bringing jobs, manufacturing jobs home,
Yep.
semiconductor manufacturing home from China. Those
Yep.
jobs are coming home.
Yep. Exactly.
So if you want to compete with China, by the way, for the first time in 40 years, we have a higher GDP than China. That's what Bidenomics is doing.
There you go. Number four, Inflation Reduction Act.
Yep, and inflation's going down.
Mm-hmm. Labor market, Americans aged 25 to 54 are working at the highest rate in 2 decades, and Biden has deemed himself the most pro-union president in U.S. history.
But they're not just working, Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Wages are up, past inflation.
Yep.
So over inflation, in other words, wage increases are more than inflation is.
They're surmounting.
And the people that are getting the income inequality is shrinking.
Right.
Because the people that are being helped the most are at the lowest income brackets. And that is good for all of us.
Yeah.
That's good for our economy. When people have money to spend, that's what keeps our economy going.
Yeah.
We're a supply and demand economy.
Right. Okay. So here. Okay. So it's Reuters. Okay. So they basically are scoring these things. Okay. So and giving verdicts, right? So on so inflation, they say Biden loss. What do you think about that?
It's a loss.
Yeah, they're saying that it's so. And while inflation has come down to 3.7% annual rate in September from the peak of 9% in June 2022, the recovery is far from over. Okay, well how the hell is
that's true, but you know why? But they don't give it context.
You're right.
The reason why there's inflation is because we're just coming out of a pandemic.
Exactly.
They killed millions of people.
Yeah.
Okay, it shut down the whole world. Our economy is doing better. We have lower inflation than any other large economy country.
Yep.
We have higher GDP. We're recovering way faster than any other country with a large economy. All like in the G7, we are doing better, and we're keeping inflation, lower than anybody else, and our GDP was 4.9% last quarter. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Our unemployment is under 4%. It's been under 4% for I can't remember how long now. The lowest it's been in 50 years.
Right.
Wages are up.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, so
workers' rights are up.
Right. And look, and the things that now, again, this is Reuters, and they're giving some, scoring these things, right? And
they don't want to sound like they're too.
Yeah. Right. So here we go. So student loans, they're saying it's a loss. Okay. What can we talk about with student loans? What happened with student loans?
Well, the Republicans contested it, and that's why it got, overruled. It got stopped.
Right.
Because, conservative judges were, Republicans went to conservative judges and got them to stop
Right.
the program, the Biden program. And right now, by the way, he's still forgiving student loan.
Right.
I can't remember 800,000 of student loan debt, of people with student loan debt. He has eliminated their debt
Right.
because he's going around. I can't remember what, how he's doing it, but he's going around and you have to have like been paying for a couple years
Right.
and be on time and stuff like that.
Right. So
And
so basically he found some workarounds, right?
yeah, he found a workaround.
Yeah.
And
And
that's, he's
yeah.
trying.
Yep.
Republicans are trying to stop Joe Biden, stop any help
Right.
going to Americans.
Right.
The only thing they want is giant tax cuts for multinational corporations and big billionaire donors to the Republican Party. That's
Right.
all they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't want anything going to you. And when they complain about deficits,
Right.
the deficits are almost all driven by Republican tax cuts for the wealthy and the permanent corporate tax cut that Donald Trump enacted
Yeah.
with Republicans.
Yeah. Right.
So they're just bad. They're
Yeah.
bad at the economy.
Yep.
It's not just that they just have bad ideas. It's not just that they're bad on everything, they're full of, policies that are discriminatory.
Right.
They're just bad at everything.
They're bad at everything, and anything that, Democrats try and do, to help people and to, I mean, my God, I'm in real estate, and I mean, I can't even tell you the number one obstacle for home buyers to achieving home ownership is insurmountable student loan debt that they can't negotiate. They can't file bankruptcy. They can't just, I mean, it is the number one. And so then that just goes in. So when they start talking about, the housing market and all this other stuff, it's like, oh my God, my head just explodes. I'm like,
Yeah, they have this huge student debt, and it's bad for the economy. All these people that are like,
yeah,
we can't afford that. We can't afford to pay off student debt. Well, guess what? We can't afford not to.
right, exactly. And then,
These kids are paying way more than you or I
Right.
paid, or our parents paid to go to college, where you could work at McDonald's
yep,
and pay your way through college.
exactly. Yeah,
So, I mean, when these kids are able to buy homes, they're able to buy houses, they're able to, buy things.
right,
It's better for all of us.
Right.
We have, like I said, we have a supply and demand economy.
yeah. Exactly. So we're going into, we just got through Thanksgiving. We're going to be going into the thick of, holidays. And on that note, I know you're tired. We had a
I am
busy
exhausted.
busy
It's been a
Thanksgiving, long weekend.
It's not even over.
It's not even over. It's Saturday night. We should be out there partying. We should be out there dancing.
Oh no, no, we should be in bed.
Well, I know this because we're old and crusty
We're
now.
old
We're
and
old.
tired.
We're old and crusty. So anyway, but Anita, it's been great talking to you tonight. And
It's been great talking to you, Karen.
I'm gonna-
We'll talk again.
Yep, I'm gonna-
See you guys.
all right, bye, Anita.
Bye, Karen.
Blue wave, we rise to save the day. Only me, only you can let our hearts sail away on a blue wave.
Special shout out this week to Bob Ferguson. Thank you so much, Bob, for becoming a Patreon supporter at the $20 level. Mwah.